And I eventually told my uncles and aunts, my mother, my father. And you know how people always say, it's always the exact opposite of what you expect when it comes to telling your parents. Oh God, telling my mother was a nightmare. And she was the one I thought would take it, really well because she's the one who raised us, single mom. And, I was like, but the way it happened was just it was bad. She had an inkling, and then instead of coming to me about it, she got in a fuss and made me open my emails in front of her, and she went through my emails, which had information about David, things I'd sent to Dakota, etc., etc. And yeah, definitely cried myself to sleep that night. And then there was my father. So a few years later, I was in college at that point, and I was like, he needs to know. So we're on a walk to the corner store one day, and I was like, Dad, I wanted to tell you something, but I'm afraid because I feel it may change our relationship. And he was like, What are you talking about? No way, man. I love you. You're my son, whatever. And I half expected a fight, so I'm all tense. I literally have my fist clenched, and I said, Dad, I'm bisexual, and his the very first word that came out of his mouth was what? And I said, oh, and I just thought, oh God, here comes the fist. And so I said it again, and and that was the worst of it. A caught off guard, confused what was the worst of it, because from there he said, you know, I've been judged for a lot of things in my life, and you're my firstborn son. I love you. I'm going to continue loving you no matter what, and I'm not going to judge you. And for the first time in my life since I was really small, I hugged my father and meant it. It was it was one of the most beautiful moments in my life. My father, the hardcore thug ex-con, understood me, loved me, hugged me. Me, his firstborn son, after telling him, hey, I'm queer. It was like Christmas and my birthday all wrapped into one. After that, coming out to anyone else who ever came along was like cake. It was like, hell, if I can stand up to my dad, I can stand up to anyone. And since then, it's, you know, I don't run around with the rainbow flag posted across my chest, but it's something I don't have to say anymore. I can leave it unsaid, and If you choose to come to that conclusion, great. If not, that's great too. But at the same time, I don't have to deny it. As I tell my friends, and hell, I even tell my new acquaintances, any question you got the balls to ask, I got the balls to answer. And sometimes that leads to some very interesting conversations. But once you, once, once you've been liberated, you never want to give that up. It feels so good. So the long and short of it is, coming out was a mess. But if I hadn't been through it the way that if it, but if I had gone through it any other way, I feel like I would not have developed the same way as a human being. So I thank the fates and powers that be for making things happen the way they did. Call it God, call it karma, call it whatever you like. But I feel that everything happens for a reason. And once again, I love being me, and I'm happy to be me. And as always, here's hoping that you're happy to be you. Peace and love. This has been Pop.